reality, now the budget has been approved for this year. Compensation agreed already. How do you expect a government under an IMF program, tight budget, to find some 2 billion Ghana cedis to meet these demands?
Listen, let me just say this. I don't speak for the nurses or any professional body at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm speaking to you as a citizen, as somebody who has been in the labor space, somebody who understands the labor laws of Ghana because of my legal background, and somebody who also understands the dynamics at the health facilities. Now, see, compensation is something that cuts across the entirety of the state, from the first gentleman of the land to the very last person. Now, in this particular situation, if you listen to the nurses, what they are saying is that that agreement was signed between the employer and labor or the nurses as far back as 2024. And the understanding was that it was going to be part of the 2025 compensation. Now, when these agreements are signed, they are not signed in a vacuum. The negotiation processes leading to the signing of the agreement involves the workers, the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Employment, the mother ministry of which particular labor group, so in this case, the Ministry of Health, as well as the legally mandated institution of state, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. And sometimes when these things are even signed, copies are lodged with the National Labor Commission. So it's a bit baffling when you hear that for some reason this particular document was not factored in the 2025 budget. Unlike previous years where the budget may have been read somewhere November 2024, we had to do that interim one somewhere in December to cover January to March. And then the current administration, led by the current finance minister, had to then come in with the actual budget for the rest of the year. So from the June to March, it's a bit baffling when you hear that it was never factored, because the Ministry of Finance itself okayed all the details, at least based on what I have been privy to in previous negotiations, before the signing off happened. And they have copies. The compensation unit of the Ministry of Finance is always actively involved in this. The Ministry of Health itself, technically, is very much aware because they have their signatures appended to the document. And Fair Wages is also obliged to pass on all these things to the paymaster, i.e. the Ministry of Finance. So when you hear that for some reason it was not captured, well, it's baffling, but I cannot give explanations as to why. But listening to the nurses, it is clear that they are not happy about that situation. So for me, we've moved from the issue of the whole bit not being captured in the budget to a point where we need to find a resolution. See, this is a legally binding document. If you take our labor laws, it is clear. It is a right that they have earned because they have sat down, negotiated with the employer, and the employer has really agreed to certain terms. What most times we seem to forget is that it is not a one-way activity.
Okay.
Part of it part of that document puts some responsibilities on the nurses or the workers. Another part also puts some responsibilities on the employer. As we speak, before the strike, I'm sure the nurses were discharging their side of the bargain.
Okay.
It is just right that the employer also sits down with them to find the best approach to implementing this document so that we can all move on.